Hey y'all! The previous video I made absolutely exploded, and I'm honestly to this day still shocked at how fast it climbed in views. So with that, thank you so much for the positive reception. I also want to thank you guys for all the theory comments that you either added on that either added on to what I already had or were different from what I originally had. And I want to go over some of them. But before that too, off script for a little bit, that thing made like 7K views in a day. That is the most I've gotten in a single day. I'm still shocked to this day. So just thank y'all. Y'all have no idea how much this means to me. But on to what I was saying. Additions to my previous theories. Eva additions. In my original video, I decided to go with a raven for Eva because I assumed that's what it was because I went off of the wiki. But looking back at it, I guess a crow would have been a better choice. I chose the raven also mainly from Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. That was another reason why I went that route too. One user I want to mention in terms of Eva was a user named Pebbles, who mentioned a mutualistic relationship between wolves, or coyotes mainly, and crows. The wolf in sheep's clothing allegory also adds to his sacrifice themes I mentioned in the previous video. Crows are also heavy foragers, which I forgot to mention, so that adds on to the complexity of the murder method. Eva being tempted into committing the first sin, quote-unquote, to being the first killer by Tozu is also another thing. Now, in terms of Desmond, one thing I realized after I had already uploaded the video was that although sharks symbolize instinct and danger, they are practically harmless unless aggravated. Not only that, but despite how dangerous sharks actually are, they get hunted to the point of endangerment, as mentioned by several comments. Just like how Desmond has the most dangerous talent next to Eloise, but chooses to stay humble and kind because it's just not his nature. He wouldn't do anything like that unless aggravated. Now for Eloise, a user named Dylan9541 mentioned how swans have a lot of symbolism from a literature standpoint too, which I completely forgot, namely the ugly duckling. I don't know how I forgot about that. Swans are fighters, and another user whose name I can't pronounce because it's letters mentions that as well. Dylan9541 also mentioned how it is illegal to kill swans in the UK. I really like the theories this person had in this comment, so I recommend looking for it in the first video. Just click on the first video in the description, scroll down some. There's a buttload of comments, but they all have really good material in them, I believe. I love to see PEG theorists. Now, outside of comments, there are some things I want to add on myself. For Diana, Wolfgang died by being a wolf in sheep's clothing, like it's said multiple times, leading him to become a lamb to the slaughter. Since Diana is undergoing something close to the chameleon effect, there is a strong possibility that she could be the next victim because everybody literally ignored her in her heroic speech. It was actually kind of sad. They just gave her a side eye and let it go. But yeah, by her taking in all the traits Wolfgang had, that immediately makes her another target, that immediately makes her vulnerable. So, y'all Diana lovers, y'all better pray. With Ingrid, lions are powerful and leaders. Her and Jean may become the morale lead of the group outside of Diana in future chapters, I believe. As for Toshiko, I forget that flamingos are really defensive, and it shows in Toshiko. But just going over that lightly, we can get on to the new stuff. Ulysses, the owl. Owls are considered to be holders of wisdom and good luck across multiple cultures, and are often held close to magical aspects as well. From a realistic lens like actual facts, owls can also turn their heads around 270 degrees in either direction, but cannot move their eyes. So in a way, they're partially still oblivious. This lens is similar to how Ulysses constantly retains and holds information from most, keyword is most, to all angles, explaining how he doesn't sleep because by being the ultimate historian, you can only look at so many directions and do that for so long. Owls are also nocturnal, and they're hunters. According to the National Park Service website, owls are omnivores. The parts that catch my eye too are mainly the facts that they eat spiders, reptiles, snakes, birds, and rabbits, and more. All animals that we see in Cassidy, Mark, Damon, Eva, and Grace, respectively. Excuse me. I'm stuttering so bad. I apologize. In the same article, ours are said to eat nearly 2,000 rodents a year. That's a lot! Like, even though it may not be likely due to the fact that Ulysses is always tired, I can see him being a killer, like, genuinely. Owls are extremely slick, and they are extremely patient. Like, if you've ever seen, like, videos of owls out in the wild, they are very, very slick. Very, very careful creatures. Ulysses' name is also a reference to the epic poem, The Odyssey. I won't completely go over the events of the novel, so I recommend you do it if you have time. Like I said, in your own personal time. Like, just looking up a synopsis of the novel. If we go the novel route, like the novel symbolism, I could see him being a survivor. But if we go purely off of animal symbolism and behavior, he could be a killer and maybe even a mastermind, who knows. But connecting with Ulysses, we have Jean, whose symbolism is the dragon. Dragons are mythical, fantastical creatures and powerful in pretty much every culture. They can also be viewed as positive or negative creatures depending on the culture, but unanimously, they're very feared. Jean himself is a leader and powerful at best, with a strong sense of instinct and connection to nature. With this, I'm calling that he'll be the highest likely person to live. Like, I'm calling survivor. But some best examples of dragons in literature or text is the Leviathan and Grendel. I'm not too educated on the Leviathan, so you can look that up on your own time. But I have read Beowulf, and I will be going into that partially. Like, just surface level stuff. In an epic poem known as Beowulf, Beowulf fights three creatures: Grendel, Grendel's mother, and the dragon, if I'm correct. I literally read this like a few months ago. I may have forgotten, so just bear with me here. Grendel practically sweeps sets of people and is vanquished by Beowulf. After that, Grendel's mother comes in and cautiously eats sleeping soldiers before being lured into a sneak attack by Beowulf. If we want to get deep into speculation, if Ulysses is his killer, I can see Jean being a victim, which sounds crazy, but given novel symbolism, it could be possible. Otherwise, maybe Eloise would kill Jean because knights and dragons and swan symbolism. Well, Eloise's name symbolism references knights, like powerful knights, and like feminism and all of those things. If we go even deeper though, the dragon is what ultimately kills Beowulf at the end. So keep that in the back of your head. That could mean that Ulysses or Eloise may still have the potential to die. So all of these theories go in multiple angles. I'm just gonna put that as a disclaimer, and I'm not gonna go over every intricate thing about every little symbolism. So like, this symbolism from this, and this comes from this, which comes from this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just doing surface level stuff that I find interesting, and if you want to spend your own personal time diving deeper into that, that's your decision. I apologize for diving off script so often. But yeah, if we stick to animal symbolism though, then I 100% call that Jean will be a survivor, without a doubt in my mind. He's just got that dog in him. I don't know. Mark, the alligator. Mark's animal is the alligator, which has mostly positive symbols: resilience, power, survival, flexibility, and status, actually. Alligators are typically nocturnal and normally leave their mothers after 3 years to survive on their own. They like to dig holes and drift in slow rivers. This has a lot going for Mark, as we see that he's extremely reserved and doesn't let anyone faze him during the killing game. Jet, the coyote. Jet's character overall is a mosh pit of references, most of his vocal commentary being related to Scooby-Doo and other primarily 90s cartoons. Coyotes symbolize trickery, adaptability, intelligence, and cunningness. On some sites, they are also said to be joyful and goofy, which is seen in Jet's personality practically 24/7. The National Park Service website states that coyotes are heavily social and prefer to live in little groups. They also hunt mainly alone, but can hunt with animals of different species. Accomplices? I get slightly reminded of the coyote from the Roadrunner cartoons too. So like Jet, Roadrunner, Raggy. We see Jet try to get on Mark's good side throughout chapter 1, and I guess you could say that his pack is Cassidy, Mark, Jean, and maybe even Kai. Curious to see whether or not he becomes a killer though, Cassidy, whose symbol is the spider. Spiders symbolize patience, persistence, creativity, and a lot of these actually say death, which makes sense because a lot of spiders can be venomous. We see her creative nature throughout the whole game thus far, including the idea of hosting the gaming tournament. Looking at her design too, it reminds me heavily of a black widow spider from the red and black colors, which black widow spiders are deadly to humans. I'm pretty sure. I'll look it up and put it on screen for clarification if I'm wrong. Spider spray usually become stuck in their webs before being eaten. They typically eat smaller insects, but some can eat small animals like birds and lizards. Which, if you really think about it that way, Eva got caught in her web by wanting to participate in the killing game, or in the gaming tournament, excuse me, to propel the killing game. And then you have, say, like, Damon and Mark, both who have reptilian motifs who were dragged in. Eh? I know this is a lot of speculation, but just, again, hear me out. If Cassidy were to hypothetically be a killer, I could see her trying to kill Mark as Jet pulls him in her web, and when it fails once, she panic switches to a different method, as spiders are persistent. Shout out to my buddy Persistence, by the way. Persistence VA is the GOAT. We also know that since all dorms are unlocked at all times, she could have a ton of items for her setup on her web. She even complained about Desmond having guns in the chapter 1 trial, so just... Wenona, the bear. Bears' symbols include power, protection, courage, healing, and more. Bears also travel mostly by themselves or outside of the wild, hence making bear attacks when aggravated, or like bear sightings. These creatures are very diligent and strong-willed in nature, and Wenona shows us this independence in both her behavior and her talent. It takes a lot to be an entrepreneur. So to be the ultimate entrepreneur, you really gotta be on some type of timing. Mother bears are also extremely protective of their cubs and will clock any animal who tries to mess with their babies. Don't mess with mother bear. Shout out to little bear. I grew up on that. And now, outside of all the ultimates, we have Tozu, the ram. Tozu's helmet represents one of a ram's. Rams in the Bible are connected more to wisdom, discernment, aka great judging capabilities, hence him lending the thoughts he did to Damon in the boiler room and in the trials. In astrology, aka the Aries symbol, they're connected to pioneering, boldness, and even determination. Undertale. All traits that Tozu exhibits throughout the current game, basically. Rams themselves are symbols of leadership, determination, and power, and in Genesis 22:13 of the Bible, God sent a lamb to be sacrificed. Huh? I've never heard a game master in a Danganronpa fan work be sacrificed for good before, so how could this possibly be? Scratching my head and thinking. In one video, I forget who it was, but I heard of a theory that Desmond would either kill by accident, because sharks don't do anything unless aggravated, and they're very goofy creatures, or Desmond would kill Tozu, aka sacrificial themes. Would it result in his death by Mara? More than likely, but one thing people forget is that sharks have 6 senses. I don't remember if it's 6 or 7. I'll put a thing on screen if I'm wrong. However, another comment I saw on my previous video theorized that Tozu and Wolfgang are related, which shocked me at first, but then I really thought about it for a second. Their animals are technically in the same tree, so it makes sense from like that standpoint, and the like father like son blackmail card was never explained, not even in the trial. Like, really think about that for a second. Tozu never even fully answered Damon's question on it. I doubt that Wolfgang's father in the photo is actually Tozu though, but still, this comment and this idea is something I feel like deserves some life and some light. Very interesting angle to take. And last but not least, we have Mara, the panther. Panthers are said to be swift, fierce, and in the Bible they are an unforgiving enemy, aka basically forces of nature. Jesus Christ, I may have to redo the script. Shout out to Force of Nature, shout out to Samurai Champloo. Hence Mara's position. Panthers are also solitary hunters and look around the same time as their prey. If you take that into a PEG standpoint, Mara is always around at the same time the other ultimates are around, aka the killing game participants. These are all some things to think about, but out of everyone, I believe Mara is the hardest person to get an idea or theory out of because she's rarely ever there. Aside from that one time she shot Grace. Feel free to prove me wrong though. And in terms of that, thank God I am free from the script hell. That is basically all I have. And again, I just want to thank you guys for how much reception I got on the other video. It's higher than even my Daybreak content view rate, which threw me off in a loop because I'm looking at it during lunch like, oh, it's at 465. Okay, I'll look at it later. I look at it 5 minutes later, it's at 503. I look at it when I get home and it's at 2K and I'm like, excuse me, I'm like, whoa. Y'all are an absolute blessing. I love the PEG community. Even though some characters are already getting misconceptualized, which is crazy. All of y'all who have been putting theories down there, y'all are the goats. Love y'all like no other. I'm considering doing a analysis video on Eva. If y'all are interested in that, let me know. It may not come out in the next 5 days because I want to jump over to Daybreak stuff again. Because most of my channel comprises of Daybreakians. Take that as you will. But yeah, again, thank y'all so much. Love y'all like no other. Keep doing what you do. You have a purpose. People love you. Stay creative. Peace.